Number one, we're going to use a table. It says Roy deposited 5,000 in an ordinary annuity. After each quarter for 3 years. For 3 years. Interest rate, 6%. Compounded quarterly. Okay. I need to use a different colored pen. That's kind of blending in with everything. Good thing to always do before you're doing these problems is look at your table and see what they need. You need what? Rate per period, and you need what? Number of periods. Okay. So my rate per period, which is R, is going to be what? And when it's in a percentage in my table, so I just leave it as percentage. So it's going to be 6%. It's compounded quarterly. So that's an annual percentage, so I need to divide it by 4. What is 6 divided by 4?
1.5.
Per period. So that's one of our numbers we need. The other one we need is what? The number of periods. He's putting $5,000 in what? Each quarter. So he's putting 20,000 in a year, isn't he? But he's doing it for 3 years. Okay? So let's look at that. 3 years, 4 times a year. We just multiply 3 times what? 4, and there are 12 what? Periods. Now we have the 2 things we need for the table, right? So now when we go over to the table, we go to 12, go over to 1.5. You guys see where we're at? 13.04121. 13.04121 is our number that we multiply times how much we are investing, which is $5,000 each time. See how much is in our annuity now, or the amount. So what do you get when you multiply that out, guys?
65,206.
Is that what you guys got? Now, that seems like a lot, but what you've got to remember is how much has he invested for 3 years?
$20,000.
Nope. How much has he invested? 60. Why? Because this is over how much time? 3 years. So he's going 20 grand a year for what? 3 years. So he has invested what? 60,000. But I mean, so his total interest is equal to what? 65,206.05 minus what? 60,000. So he's made what? $5,206.05. You know, that may not seem like a lot, but that's probably a very, very safe, annuity he's in right there. Are there riskier investments? Why, sure. But he made $5,206 over 3 years for doing nothing but letting his money sit there. And as time goes along, that becomes to be a bunch of money. And if you're curious, if he did it for 50 periods, which is how many years? 12 and a half years. Let's go 50 periods. Just out of curiosity. If we did 50 periods, that's the most that the thing goes to. Our number is 73, what? 68283. Multiply that times 5,000. What do you get? 400 and what?
$14,
And what?
15 cents.
15?
Yeah.
368,000? Okay. Well, that's how much he makes over 50 periods, would equal, divided by 4 would be 12 and a half years.
12.5. Yeah.
That's over 12 and a half years. So how much did he invested? Well, 50 times what? 5,000. What do you get?
250,000.
You see how over 12 years, I mean, over 3 years, he only made 5,000. Okay? Everyone agree? Over 12 and a half years, he made how much? 100 and what? Well, we're at 15 cents here, 414, 8, 1. $118,414. Now, why is that significant? Well, this was 3 years. This is, if you multiply that times 4, what do you get? About a little over 20,000, and then you go a couple more periods. See how annuities work? So this is about 4 times longer, isn't it? Everyone agree? Just a little bit more than that. But roughly, if you just went 4.5 here, I think you'd get to about 23,000 roughly. If you just multiplied that times 4. And that would feel like the same amount of years, right? But my gosh, that's a pretty big discrepancy, isn't there? Of the amount of money you're making as time goes on. So you see what I'm saying? Over 12 years, he's making what? Roughly 4 or 5 times more money than he was making over what? 3 years. So as an annuity goes along, you start making a lot more money. And that's why annuities are a safe bet and a long-term thing, something you put in and you keep until you retire. You put in there for 30 years. That's why I'm dumb for not have put a $50 or $100 annuity in, which I started with, and when I cashed in for when I was young, I shouldn't have done it. Now I've got 4 kids and can't afford to put any money back, or I can, but it's time for me to start thinking about that. I need to start, for the next 20 years, money back, and that could be some help on retirement. But that's why when you guys go out and get a job, don't make a mistake like I did and cash something in when you start it, keep it going. Because it'll, we're talking just 4 times. Think about this amount. If this guy started doing this and was able, this is a big advantage, but was able to start doing this at about 25, and cash this in 30 years later, we're worth $500,000. Okay? And he'd make about $500,000. Probably have 1.5 in there. Who knows? I don't know what it would be. But anyhow, it's a pretty neat deal. It's something, most of us can't afford to put $5,000 in every time, let's face it. But if you could put 500 in, that can add to a pretty good chunk of change when over 30 years, when you retire. All right, I spent a lot of time on that, but I just think that's kind of neat how that money, and to be honest, I wish I'd have taken a class like this and had a better feel for things like that. When I was your age, or even when I first started, I didn't understand when I cashed that thing in how dumb that was. I think I did it at about 28, 29. It was dumb. And I made probably $400, $300 on it, $400, something like that. All right, but let's look at number 3 now. I'm pretty sure number 3, if I remember correctly, is one where we have to use this formula. Okay, he's got 500, so that's his amount he deposits each time, every quarter. His interest rate is 6.2 compounded quarterly. They want to know how much he would have saved in 20 years. Okay, so we need the number of periods. If you look at this, we need the number of periods, we need the rate per period, right? We need the amount deposited, and then we can find what? The future value. Okay? So amount deposit, I already got that. He's gonna deposit what? $500 every 3 months. So that's not a bunch. That's something, for those, that's a more realistic number for most of us. Let's see how much he'll make over 30 years. Well, to get my number of periods, that'd be 30 times what? 4, right? So that's 120 periods, is it not? Our rate per period, it's at .062. When we're putting things into a formula, you have to change it into a decimal, don't you? Divided by what? 4. Okay, so let's put all this into the future value formula, which is, like I said, it's a mess looking, this formula, but it's not that bad. It's mostly, probably the most complicated thing is figuring out how to put it into your calculator. So we're at we put 500 in, we put that in for AD, right? Then I've got 1 plus, and I'm not going to put .00 because I think that's, and then .062 over 4. All of that to number of periods is what? 120. Minus 1, close my parentheses. All of that divided by my rate per period, which is .062 divided by 4. What you guys might find, some are better than others in using calculators. I left my little pen that goes with my phone here yesterday. At least I thought I did. Okay, here we go. First, I'm going to figure out the stuff inside here. I think, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to say .062 divided by 4 is equal to that. Then I'm going to add 1, get equal to. And then I'm going to take that to the what? 120th power. Close my parentheses. You guys see where I'm at? So I've got that. Then what does it say to do? Minus what? 1. Get to that. So I've done everything inside here, right? Then I'm going to multiply that times 500 equals, okay, this. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide that by, and this is where you're going to need to use parentheses. Parentheses, .062 divided by what? 4. Close your parentheses, and that should be our number. Future value is $172,023.72. Now, so how much money did he make? Well, he put $500 in for how many periods? 120 periods, right? So let's put 120 times 500. He invested $60,000. If I did that right, 500 times 120. So, how much did he make? $112,023.72 for putting 500 in every 3 months. See, that's something that we could probably, if you do that, and here's the thing with annuities too, you can do that before taxes. Okay? So that's not bad. That's a pretty good return, isn't it? You almost doubled your money. No, what am I saying? You more than doubled your money. You almost tripled your money. I had that wrong. I was looking at this number and this number. You almost tripled your money. Because 60,000 times 3 would be 180,000. Just by doing that every 3 months. And if you add that, that's what, $133.33 every paycheck before taxes. That's not too bad. So you can see that's a good chunk of change. All right, we're going to do numbers 1 through 14. Right, conditions, draw tables, show all steps and work. I've done 2 of them for you, so you only got 12 problems to do. Okay?